from hatred and discrimination based on the way that you look.
We squint even when my eyes fit my face.
Yeah, but I like your eyes.
One single person looks awkward or left out or ignored. People call us Uglies.
Like and subscribe may look simple to you, but for us, it's very valuable. So make sure to support us, and thank you for watching.
We see an alternate future where humanity's avarice leads to ecological collapse and an acute crisis of fossil fuels. Centuries later, a bunch of expert bioengineers synthesized a unique flower, which acted as a natural, clean source of energy. However, humanity's tendency to discriminate led to the creation of different clans, castes, and creeds all over again, threatening the peace of this new era, which prompted humanity to consider an unconventional solution to remove the superficial differences among individuals altogether. A cosmetic transformation procedure was initiated that brought out the best physical form of everyone, letting people attain a perfect, symmetrical appearance. The perfection apparently allowed humans to attain happiness and peace, ending every possibility of conflict as a result. After turning 16, everyone undergoes the procedure of transformation, and the perfect ones, termed as pretties, get to live in luxurious cities without any responsibilities, sustaining themselves on the amenities provided by the district authorities. The ones who haven't undergone the transformation yet are termed Uglies, who live in dingy dormitories away from the main cities. In a way to wipe out discrimination, humanity had enforced a temporary one. Our protagonist, Tally Youngblood, is one of the Uglies, who is ever eager to become one of the pretty ones and venture to the city, along with her best friend Paris, who clearly has a romantic interest in her. She frequently uses an app on the mirror to visualize how she'd appear post-procedure. Tally and Paris have a nickname for each other, Nose and Squint, which they have had since childhood. Occasionally, they sneak to the bridge during curfew hours and use special glasses to observe the pretties living the dream in the city. Tally is set to turn 16 in 3 months, but Paris happens to be a few months older, and so he is scheduled for his operation tomorrow. They bear matching scars on their hands and vow not to let the doctors erase them once they become pretty. At that moment, a patrol drone zooms by, prompting them to dash back to their dorms. The following day during assembly, Tally overhears other students discussing the Smoke, a concealed area outside the city led by a person named David. It's rumored that many people escape the city and seek refuge there, but most students dismiss it as fiction. Suddenly, a hologram of Dr. Cable materializes and delivers a speech emphasizing the significance of being pretty and perfect. Afterward, all those who have turned 16 are summoned, and Tally bids farewell to Paris, asking him to meet her at the bridge in 1 month. That evening, Tally admires the fireworks illuminating the sky above the city and reminisces about the day she met Paris. Her parents had just dropped her off at the dormitories, and Paris was behind her in line. They exchanged nicknames and instantly clicked, quickly becoming best friends. One day, Paris inadvertently cut his hand while taking a tablet from Tally, resulting in her receiving the same scar as they promised to remain friends forever. Days go by, and Tally maintains her routine of attending classes and gazing at herself in the mirror. She often checks her interface ring, but there are no messages from Paris. After a month, Tally uses her ring to hack the window open and leaves it behind since it has a tracker. She stealthily navigates and reaches the bridge, but Paris hasn't arrived. Growing anxious, she uses some rope to climb onto the bridge and precariously maneuvers underneath until she reaches the city. Hiding behind plants, Tally spots a partygoer who drops a mask. She picks it up and puts it on. The mask projects a hologram onto her body, making it appear as though she's wearing an elegant dress. With this disguise, Tally gains access to the party and is awestruck by all the decorations. Eventually, she finds Paris, who looks entirely different and doesn't recognize her. Tally removes her mask and asks why he didn't come to the bridge, to which Paris explains that things have changed and he doesn't know how to relate to her anymore. Tally can't fathom what she's hearing and realizes just how much he has changed when she notices his scar is gone. At that moment, the security system detects her presence, forcing Tally to flee from the approaching guards. She gets cornered on a balcony, snatches a bungee jacket, and jumps. The fall is quite lengthy, but the jacket allows her to bounce and land softly nearby. Tally then escapes the city by climbing under the bridge again. When she accidentally kicks a stone into the water, a drone locates her and approaches to apprehend her. Suddenly, her classmate Shay appears and urges Tally to hop onto her hoverboard so they can fly away. The drone tries to pursue them, but Shay is a swift driver and manages to shake it off with wild turns in the woods. To express her gratitude, Tally sneaks into the kitchen and pilfers some snacks. The girls bond over their experiences and the difficulty of being left behind while all their friends turn 16 first. They discover they share the same birthday and get excited to have a friend to become pretty with. The following day, Shay brings a second hoverboard and attempts to teach Tally how to ride it, but she promptly tumbles off. At school, Tally is astonished to see some girls return a book to Shay, as those items are no longer in circulation. The girls are captivated by the text's depiction of survival in nature and wonder if that's what the smoke is like. Tally borrows the book while the girls commend her for her daring stunt last night, which frustrates her because it implies Shay shared the story with everyone. She fears they might punish her by denying her the operation, but Shay reassures her that the system desires everyone to be pretty. As days progress, Tally reads the book but continues to dream about the operation. Shay persists in teaching her to ride the hoverboard, and in return, Tally keeps hacking with her ring to procure extra food. Tally also shares her pretty designs on the app with Shay, but Shay lacks an account. In fact, she isn't enthusiastic about the operation at all. Eventually, Tally becomes proficient at flying, and the girls use their hoverboards on thrilling ramps for fun. When Tally returns the book to Shay, she expresses a desire to visit the beautiful nature described, and Shay suggests that it wouldn't be so terrible to forgo the operation, but Tally dismisses that as nonsense. Suddenly, Shay brings up the smoke and takes Tally to the wood's edge. After leaving their rings on some branches, they cross the border by riding their hoverboards over the river. Eventually, they arrive at the remnants of an ancient city, and Shay tells Tally about relics like roller coasters. Then, Shay leads Tally into an abandoned building and reveals the truth. The smoke is real, and David will be arriving soon. Shay refuses to undergo the surgery and plans to leave tonight, urging Tally to accompany her. However, Tally declines, stating she doesn't want freedom, she wants to be pretty. An upset Shay provides her with directions to reach the smoke in case Tally ever changes her mind and embraces her before departing on her hoverboard, following the sign of David's fire in another building. The next day marks Tally's birthday, so she heads to the clinic for her surgery. However, they call everyone except her. Then a guard escorts her away in an aircraft to meet Dr. Cable, who informs her that Shay is missing. Tally insists she doesn't know anything, but Cable can see her vitals on a screen indicating she's being dishonest. Cable tells Tally that Shay is in peril because David has brainwashed her, and he's known for keeping people against their will. When Tally maintains she doesn't know anything, Cable sends her back to her dorm without performing the surgery. That night, Tally hears a noise and is startled to see Paris appearing at the window. Tally recounts what happened, and Paris suggests she should tell Cable what she knows so they can finally be together. The next day, Tally is again brought to see Cable, who informs her that David is developing a weapon to attack the city and needs Tally to infiltrate the smoke. Tally agrees to assist, and Cable promises that if she succeeds, she'll receive the surgery. Cable also gives Tally a necklace that flashes in her eyes, which she must activate when she discovers the weapon's location. Afterward, Tally follows Shay's instructions and rides the hoverboard on the old roller coaster for a few miles. Eventually, she finds a gap and tumbles into the woods, but she's caught by a force field. There, she discovers abandoned train tracks, which she must follow to locate the smoke. For the next few days, Tally survives in the wild, like she read about in her book, and appreciates nature like never before. The train tracks have a significant gap in the middle of a chasm, so she hops back on the hoverboard and makes a daring jump that temporarily disables the board. Tally begins to plummet rapidly, but just before she hits the ground, the hoverboard reactivates, allowing her to reach the other side of the chasm. Now, she has to wait in a field of flowers as the instructions indicate. Meanwhile, Cable brings Paris to her office, revealing he visited her dorm the other night because she requested it. Paris admits it felt good to be in town, as if he could think clearly again. Then Cable announces that a select few have been chosen for a new procedure, and Paris agrees to enter the surgery machine for body enhancements. That night, Tally wakes up coughing due to smoke. She discovers that the field is ablaze and doesn't know what to do, but suddenly, a mysterious figure picks her up and carries her away. away. It's David who starts scanning Tally and her belongings for trackers. He finds one inside the hoverboard and removes it, but his scanner doesn't react to the necklace. At the same time, Cable's men receive an alert about the tracker being removed, and she dispatches people to search the area. In the morning, David and Tally reach a smoke outpost, where Tally gets to reunite with her friend. Shay is thrilled to see her, but Croy is wary. The group sets up camp for the night and Shay asks about the necklace, so Tally pretends it was a gift from Paris. Tally is surprised to see Shay so cheerful after what Cable said, and tries to voice her concerns, leading Shay to believe she came to convince her to return. An argument ensues, and Tally ultimately agrees to give the smoke a chance. The next day, Tally learns that the smoke intentionally starts fires to burn the orchids because they are actually toxic and ruin any place they are planted. Tally doesn't believe him and argues that the orchids were the clean energy solution, but David explains that it's a government lie and that the flowers are turning the planet into a wasteland. He wants to take Tally on their mission to prove it, and Croy objects, but Shay advocates for her. The group has an old helicopter they fixed with solar panels, and they go on a flight. Now Tally can see the area where orchids used to grow, which is nothing but desert. Using a flamethrower, Shay incinerates as many orchids as possible. At that moment, Croy's tablet detects someone approaching, so David lowers the helicopter to conceal it in the smoke. The movement loosens the rope holding Shay, causing her to fall. Cable's scouts are closing in, so Tally ties a bag to the end of the rope for weight and throws it off before using it to descend. The helicopter begins to lose lift, while Tally searches for Shay among the flames. Fortunately, she finds her, and when a scout attempts to get closer, Tally grabs the burning bag and hurls it at him. The girls then cling to the rope as the helicopter lifts away, just before a scout can leap onto it. After the group lands, Croy points out that the scouts could have only found them because of Tally, but Shay defends her, and David believes anyone who risks their lives for smoke deserves a chance. The group camps for the night, but Tally can't sleep, continually thinking of Cable and how she taught her to manipulate the rebels. She leaves the tent for a walk and discovers David bathing in the river, prompting her to return to the tent. The following day, Tally is blindfolded and finally brought to the smoke, where an entire community thrives in nature. Tally thinks it's more challenging than in the city, but she admits the food tastes better when grown herself. Even the elderly must work, and there's no currency, so goods are shared or traded. Most importantly, everyone is there by choice. The train tracks are being repurposed to make tools, but they don't manufacture weapons because they're pacifists. One afternoon, Tally finds an unusual door and attempts to look inside, but Croy catches her in the act and sends her away. Tally begins using tools to assist with the tracks, tastes spicy food for the first time, and participates in dances around the fire. Sometime later, David teaches Tally how to use a hunting crossbow, and they enjoy their time together. It takes her a few tries, but eventually she hits the practice target. On their way back, David explains he never saw the city because he was born in the wild and raised with his family. Tally is shocked to hear this, as she barely knows her own parents. Then David gives her a pair of gloves. At that moment, a smoke member returns from orchid burning with an injury, stating that the scouts are still nearby. She also mentions that those scouts were faster and stronger than usual. Afterward, Shay notices Tally wearing the gloves and points out that it's a significant gesture. Objects have different values there, and since David made those gloves, giving them to Tally indicates he likes her. Shay tells Tally to make her choice already and stop toying with him. The next time Tally takes a stroll with David, she mentions she heard whispers of a weapon designed to obliterate the city. This prompts David to take her to a house far from their camp. There, she meets David's parents, Az and Maddie, who are the guardians of all the books. They were once cosmetic surgeons for the government, but became suspicious of certain tests, leading them to start their own investigation. It turns out that the physical alterations were merely a facade to disguise the fact that people were also having their brains altered. Becoming pretty means becoming dull-witted and slow under a false sense of happiness, allowing the government to easily maintain control over them. The procedure has also resulted in numerous fatalities, which were kept under wraps. When Cable discovered that Az and Maddie were aware of the truth, she seized all their research. Those working for the state, such as doctors, were given a cure to ensure they could think clearly while performing their jobs, so David's parents chose to escape the city and age normally in the woods. They have been searching for a way to recreate the cure, but there's a synthetic element they lack, so they only have a basic serum. This is the so-called weapon that could annihilate the city. After their meeting, Tally throws her necklace into the fire, opting to remain with the smoke. She attempts to tell David about her past misdeeds, but he reassures her that she is a new person now, leading to a shared kiss. In the flames, the necklace sparks. The next morning, city aircraft arrive at the smoke and open fire. Chaos ensues as everyone begins to flee, with scouts hot on their trail, but they fall into traps already set, such as nets and logs. Unfortunately, the scouts are too swift and strong for the traps to stop them. Soon they are capturing every rebel they encounter, including Shay. Tally manages to find a hiding spot with David, who insists on going out to help, but she stops him, fearing for his safety. The two sneak to the area where prisoners are being gathered, and Tally is heartbroken to see that Paris has become a scout. Az and Maddie are taken captive just as Cable arrives, demanding to know David's whereabouts. The parents refuse to divulge any information, prompting Cable to order Paris to kill Az. David and Tally rush out to intervene, but they are too late. Cable then informs everyone that Tally has been working for her, leading the members of the Smoke to turn against her. While the others are distracted, Maddie discreetly hides the serum in David's pocket. As Cable announces that everyone will undergo surgery, Tally rushes to the supply shack and ignites a fire. She grabs a crossbow and escapes through a window as a scout tries to break in. The fire triggers an explosion, which knocks the scout back and allows David to flee. A scout pursues him, but Tally halts him with an arrow. Paris wishes to join the pursuit, but Cable announces they are leaving. Some scouts destroy Maddie's research and set the area ablaze, while others force all the prisoners onto the aircraft. Once they are gone, David scavenges what few supplies he can find for a rescue mission. Tally approaches him, but he reacts by attacking her with a knife, stopping just short of injuring her. David wants nothing to do with her anymore, given her connection with Cable resulted in his world getting uprooted in this way. Tally explains the entire situation to David, mentioning how she was in the dark and was misguided by Cable for so long until she met David and the rest of the commune members, which allowed her to learn the truth. Tally offers her help to sneak David inside the city, as she is prepared to rectify her mistakes by saving Shay, David's mother Maddie, and the residents of Smoke from Cable's grip. Later in the city, Tally convinces some of the few friendly Uglies who read Shay's book to create a distraction by introducing them to David, proving that the smoke is real. She borrows an interface ring from them and asks them to rally as many kids to help implement their plan. Soon, a group of teenagers write the smoke lives in the sky using their hoverboards. Meanwhile, David and Tally wait for the aircraft to leave the clinic, and they enter using hoverboards as well. They navigate through the aircraft tunnel and land safely with the help of bungee vests. They carefully scout around, and Tally uses the ring to hack a lock, but it turns out this isn't just a kitchen and the lock fails. Suddenly, Pretty opens the door and David immediately engages him in a fight. After a brief struggle, David gains the upper hand, pinning the Pretty against the wall while Tally snatches his ring. David then throws him into the corridor, and Tally secures the door. As alarms blare, they locate the cell and use the ring to free everyone. Tally realizes Shay is missing, and Croy reveals that she has already undergone the surgery. While most of the group escapes, David, Tally, and Maddie search for Shay. However, by the time they reach the lab, it's too late to rescue Shay, who has already been turned into one of the Pretties. Tally weeps and apologizes, but Shay insists she loves it. At that moment, Cable and Paris arrive. Cable manages to trap Tally, Maddie, and David, and forces them to enter the transformation chambers, as she goads them about how her way of eradicating human free will is the only feasible way to save humanity from their self-destructive tendencies. The process begins, but just as the needles are about to pierce, the Smoke's helicopter appears outside, and Croy opens fire with a flamethrower. Cable and Paris are compelled to flee, damaging the machines in the process, causing the system to fail and the operation to stop. The trio emerges with Tally grabbing Shay while Maddie retrieves the necessary component from a cupboard. They rush to the roof where they find Paris. Tally tries to appeal to his senses by using their nicknames and reminding him that a piece of glass caused his scar. Paris gently touches Tally's face, and David, fearing for her safety while also enraged by the trauma of losing his father at Paris's hands, attacks him. However, Paris easily overpowers him, prompting Tally to tackle Paris away until he's clinging for his life on the edge of a waterfront. In his final moments, Paris remembers Tally as his best friend and utters her nickname before falling falling to his death, although it is not confirmed whether he truly lost his life. Afterward, the group escapes on hoverboards, witnessing the other teens causing the drones to crash into each other in the sky. As the group reaches safety, Maddie reveals that she has stolen part of the cure from Cable's lab and can use it to revert the pretties to their original selves. However, she cannot guarantee its effectiveness or whether it will have adverse effects on the brain. Tally is relieved to consider the possibility that Shay will be saved at last, but contrary to her assumption, Shay refuses to return to her old self. Taking the responsibility on her shoulders, Tally states that she is willing to become a pretty in order to become a test subject of the cure. Apologizing for her mistakes, Tally pleads with David to look for her and bring her back to a rebuilt Smoke to use the cure on her. Asking the group to leave with Shay, Tally surrenders to the authorities and later on gets transformed into a pretty as the movie comes to an end. David had previously asked her whether she would maintain her stance about using the cure after transformation as well, and Tally had assured him that she would. As a reminder of her past life, a transformed Tally looks at the scar in her hand, the one she shared with her late best friend Paris. Before transforming into a pretty, Tally had decided to keep her scar intact so she could remember her past life. Thereby, she can remember her connection with David as well, and by keeping her promise, she can use the cure upon herself.
And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Watch other recaps on the screen. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.